Time once again for the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast. With you as always, Jeff Chadiha from the NFL Network and NFL.com. Sam McDowell from the Kansas City Star. My name is Soren Petro from Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. The Chiefs looking for their first win at the Giants. That carries weight twofold. One, they've never won at the Giants as a franchise, 0-7, and also looking for their first win this year at 0-2. We'll talk about the Tush Push. The league coming out yesterday saying, yeah, the officials missed it. I think we all saw that they missed it. The guards jumping early. What does that mean, big picture, moving forward? Is this a must-win for the Chiefs? Seemed like it last week. What about now that they're 0-2? Have we seen the limits of what Patrick Mahomes can do? Does Andy Reid need to change the game plan? Different kind of running, more running? Do they need Xavier Worthy and Jalen Royals to win this game? How about the pass rushers of the Giants? Defense, the statistics say the Giants defense isn't very good, but the quality of pass rushers, at least the pedigree, looks pretty good. And which Russell Wilson will the Chiefs see? Of course, we'll give you our keys to the game, our predictions. It's all coming up right now on the Red, Gold, and Bold.
You are listening to the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast, the most in-depth analysis of the Kansas City Chiefs on planet Earth, breaking down the Chiefs like no one else can. Red, Gold, and Bold is hosted by Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro. Jeff Chadiha is a senior columnist and on-air personality for the NFL Network and NFL.com. Sam McDowell is a columnist for the Kansas City Star. Soren Petro is the afternoon drive host of the program on Sports Radio 810 WHB in Kansas City. The Red, Gold, and Bold podcast is proudly brought to you by Gann Asphalt and Concrete, Kansas City's nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor, making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty. Find them online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, one contractor, all things parking lot. Now, here are the hosts of the Best Chiefs podcast, Jeff Chadiha, Sam McDowell, and Soren Petro.
Thank you very much, Curtis. How about it? The Tush Push. We got word from the league, Sam, that they did indeed. The officials miss it on the guards, and telling the officials, what was the exact quote? How did they put it? It was to these plays, officiate these, to call these plays tight and make sure that every aspect of the offensive team is legal. Too little, too late for the Kansas City Chiefs. But what do you take away from the fact that the Chiefs-Eagles game is the one that brought about this response?
Well, I think the Tush Push is gone. I mean, this feels so much like Juwan Taylor's spotlight to me that I think this will be the impetus that prompts the league to actually ban it, because for the longest time it just looked like sour grapes if you voted to ban the Tush Push. Like, you couldn't stop a play. A team was very successful of it, and that's the way I always was. You couldn't ban a play just because a team's really good at it. Now teams have an excuse. They can say the officials can't officiate it. But to me, it's all garbage, because I was in the press box on the last one, and it was obvious from the all 22 press box that the Eagles were moving early on that one. And so, like, I think this story that it's really hard to officiate, and I'm sure it's not the easiest of plays to officiate, but these guys are also running with the best athletes in the world down the field and try and call DPI or the tightest grab of holding. It's not that hard to tell if someone's lined up offsides, and it's not that hard to tell if somebody moves early. And so I think it's become an excuse for the officials of getting a play wrong that, to be clear, did not, to me, affect the outcome of the game. The Chiefs lose that game anyway.
Yeah, I don't think – I'm with you. I don't think it's the difference in the game, but it might have been. I mean, if there is a path. I mean, it was a 3-point game, and so if you're – the league and you want integrity in what you're doing, your business partners are now sports books, are some of your biggest business partners. I mean, you want a fair game that, people invest in those companies. Those companies make money from your product. So I think, that's part of it. I'm with you. I don't think it changes the outcome of the game, Jeff. I don't think you would say that it changes the outcome of the game, but do you think that this is the path we're headed on, the one Sam laid out there, that this is the impetus to basically be able to call a penalty on the team that's running it and make it to one that you just don't want to mess with?
Well, I think it's important to remember that this play's been around for like 3 years, and this is the first year we're having this conversation about it. So, I think somebody on ESPN was talking about they're clearly coaching them to do this now, which is a different situation than what they were doing, the first time the Chiefs played this team in the Super Bowl when it was a big part of their offense. And so, yeah, I do want to see how it works now that they're going to be officiated more tightly. I do wonder if it's still as effective without that advantage of guards jumping off guards or getting quicker starts. But one, I don't think it affected the outcome of the game. Two, I do think that they can probably still run it and be effective with it, because I think what makes it effective, what people seem to always miss, is that we're playing in an era in football where it's really hard to go have more than one or two guys on your defensive line who are 310 pounds, 320 pounds. Most of your edge rushers are in the 230 to 260 range. Most of your linebackers are 225 or lighter. And so there's just lighter people, and you're lining up against linemen who are averaging 320, 330. If you go find a Sam Adams or a Vince Wilfork or two or three of those guys, it may be a different play. So I still think they can run it. And I do think it'll still be hard to officiate, but it's good to see they're making the attempt to make it more, to make it less of an advantage for the Eagles.
Yeah, Thaddeus said they can't get holding or pass interference correct. Why do we think they're going to get this kind of unorthodox play correct? Yeah, it's a difficult game to officiate. I have my frustrations with the officials as well, but it's difficult. And Brent said they did score on the one where there was a false start. It would have pushed them back to the 6-yard line. But he had Bucker missing the kick. Kelsey's debacle were the nails in the coffin for this team. I think the Eagles probably find a way to get it done, and I don't think it changes the outcome. And I'm with you, Jeff. I think it's still going to be an effective play for them. It might not be as effective, and we've talked about it a lot. Jalen Hurts is the part of the equation that I think is really unique to the Philadelphia Eagles, and then just a really talented offensive line. I mean, it is, to me, it's they're bunting against the shift. Instead of whining about, the fact that everybody's in pass defense and playing shell defenses, they're like, okay, well, we'll just get it close, and then we'll have big people, and we'll knock you off the ball. And I think your point's valid, Jeff. I mean, what you'd really like to see is a Casey Hampton or a Vince Wilfork or, two of those guys on the middle of your defense, which some teams in 4-3 formations used to have. The Jaguars, they were more long guys, but I remember they had John Henderson and they had another 6'6" guy, Albert Hainsworth, or the Georgia guy. I can't remember. Anyway, they had a couple of big 6'6" guys that were 300 plus pounds. I mean, that you need that kind of size, and really the Gilbert Brown, the old gravedigger type guy, and teams don't carry that because on all the other downs, that guy doesn't have anything to do. So Sam made a great point. I don't want to legislate away somebody else's success, but they do have to call it correctly. Do you think the Eagles will continue to run it, Sam?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was yes. I mean, first of all, this is, to Jeff's point, and it's why I make the point about the referees, that these referees miss the calls. The fact that, like Jeff mentioned, they've been running this play for 3 years, and there's been a lot of talk about the fairness of it or the safety of the play, but the spotlight has not been shining on the officials on this play really until this game. To me, the takeaway from that should be these officials missed the calls that the rest of the officials are getting right. And that doesn't mean that the Eagles have been not false starting the rest of the time, or that they have been false starting the rest of the time. But I'm telling you, from the press box, this was obvious. There's a reason Andy Reid was on the field trying to wave over the white hat at one point to get his attention, because he saw it. He's got the down the line view. Like these officials made that play look a lot harder to officiate than I think it is.
Yeah. The Eagles have really normalized this play for officials to the extent they don't want to really take the extra step of seeing, is this really happening? Because it is difficult to officiate, but to me, it's very similar. Remember when RPOs got hot when Mahomes first showed up and Andy was running in them, and people were complaining about how far down the field the linemen were getting. Like there is a limit to how far they can go. And Andy was pushing that limit. And I think the Chiefs, the Eagles are doing the same thing with this play. And now they've reached, okay, here's the limit on what they can do. But I think they will still run it. I think there will be more discussion about it in the offseason. I don't think it should be, banned because they're good at it, but it should be officiated correctly. it's a great play anyway. It becomes unstoppable when guys are false starting.
To your point, Jeff, you see that call all the time now with illegal man downfield. Like it's called way more frequently now than it was 5-6 years ago.
The Belichick, mauling the receivers. Okay, we'll bump them, we'll grab them, we'll hold them, we'll tackle them. Okay, now you've gone too far. Now we're going to do something. That game against the Colts in the playoffs was just too much. That's too far. We're gonna change how we do things. I think that's a great point. That there have been other times where they push the limit. And listen, defenses. We know the Chiefs lined up offsides, were called for at once. There were other times that you could see where Amenahu's hand was equal with the ball. Like the Chiefs had clearly come up with a strategy that they were going to try to wedge back at him. And so the outside guys are trying to get that jump and they're pointing, lined up, pointing inward, and getting that hand up there. I don't know.
They were good at it, Soren. They were good at it.
They did a good job.
The Chiefs were good at it. Yeah.
I do object to Chris Jones' statement saying we stopped it. Right. Every first down they wanted to achieve, they achieved. Every touchdown they wanted to achieve with it, they achieved. They needed 2 tush pushes to score a touchdown, but they still got there.
And so another time on third down, they needed to also get fourth down as well. But you're right. Anytime they wanted to try and convert it into first down, eventually it did.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Chiefs have gotten good enough to where the idea that from 2.5 yards we're going to do it. They've got a shot at stopping it from 2.5 yards, right? But it's still effective in achieving their point. So. They've got to find a way to get the guys off the line of scrimmage, and that's hard because that's the critical point for what you're trying to do to stop them. I mean, I don't know. I don't think we're headed to the. I've said this before. The problem with wanting to change it is write the rule for me. And when you start trying to write the rule, what you find is, you can't get directly behind somebody. Okay, all right, so let's give them a running start. Is that better to have the guys next to the quarterback running and plowing into the backs of the guys?
Well, I think the rule would be that you couldn't just push the ball carrier, right?
Right. So, okay, and if you can't push the ball carrier, which I think is agreed. I think that's the simplest, easiest way to do it. But they just that's requiring the league to go back and change what they just changed 5 years ago.
Yep.
We had that for 6 years. So that requires the league to say, okay, we were wrong.
Yep.
We got to, and I think they like that. I think they like when the guys up and the linemen come together and they shove it for 5 more yards and the crowd gets excited. I think they want that part, the down the field part of it. I think they want that. And so if you don't go clear to that point, then it gets really hard. Well, you can't run into you can't push somebody who has the ball, but it's okay to push some. Oh, okay. So, you start getting to these layers where it gets difficult. That's why the rule book is so thick.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it. I think behind the line of scrimmage, you could do it. The guy that receives the snap, something like that. But you're right. I mean, there would have to be some sort of technicalities for it. I thought based on the fact that the league came out and the Washington Post had that story. My first thought is we're going to see the Eagles called for it this week. Because if you guys remember when Kadarius Toney was offside and it was this whole thing that we hadn't seen it in a long time, the Chiefs were complaining that never gets called. The next week there were 2 calls in the NFL for a receiver lining up offsides. You knew the NFL was going to be like, no, this is something we do all the time. Here it is again, and here it is again. And I anticipate that we could see the Eagles called for something like, hey, those officials missed it, but yeah, we are regulating this play in the way it should be regulated.
And it's Juwan Taylor. Right? People didn't, they were on the Chiefs and listen, the Eagles now get to wear that crown. They've now been to 3 Super Bowls in 6 years, 7 years, 2 of them. And so they've somewhat taken over the mantle. I mean, we heard Malata complaining about how, they're saying the only reason we won is because of the Tush Push. When nobody said that. No one said it, but they've already heard enough complaining in Philadelphia that they're now taking on, I just don't like, he said, I don't like how, they're acting like we didn't do anything on defense. We didn't do anything on special teams. And no one's acting like that. And he's like, I can't believe you would say that. I'm like, really? This is from the guy whose team spent the whole post game of the Super Bowl 4 years ago talking about a hold call. Well, you never call that. I'm like, now you're turned around and you're complaining about this. I just, it's all coming full circle now that the Eagles are the team that everybody's looking at and watching and heavy is the crown, right? When you wear it. We'll see how they handle it here moving forward. All right, we want to get into the Chiefs and the Giants. We'll do that next after you hear from our friends at Gann Asphalt and Concrete. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. Free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews. Every project comes with a written warning. Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot.
This episode of Red, Gold, and Bold is brought to you by Frontier Justice, where freedom is a lifestyle grounded in safety, responsibility, and respect. With locations in Lee Summit, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, and Jenks, Oklahoma, Frontier Justice offers firearms retail, a premier indoor shooting range, and training all under one roof. Whether you're new to shooting or a seasoned pro, you'll find expert staff, top-tier gear, and a strong sense of community. Faith, family, freedom. That's what Frontier Justice stands for. Visit frontier-justice.com to learn more.
Jeff, how about it? Must win for the Kansas City Chiefs. Now 0-2. We had this discussion last week, so we will have it again. Is this a must win for the Kansas City Chiefs?
Yeah. They lose this game. I don't want to say the wheels come off, but they got way bigger problems than what we've been talking about the last couple of weeks. This is a team that has a lot of flaws, even with all the excitement they displayed in that game last week against the Cowboys. I don't see a path to winning the AFC West if they lose this game. I don't. I think the playoffs become a real concern at this point, and because the Ravens are coming next, which I think that's a game they're going to lose. So if you start the season 0-4, I think you're done. And so they have to win this game. I would hope that they can play well offensively. I've been saying the last couple of weeks, this team is trying to figure out who they are. And I know it's very easy to look back at what they've been doing, what they've done, how they've rebounded from adversity, all this stuff. But it's not, we're not playing in those times. We're playing in this time. They have real issues with the run game. They have real issues at receiver. The offensive line has not played great, and the quarterback looks like Tommy Frazier right now. I mean, they got to win this game and do it convincingly.
Yeah, Sam, mathematically, we know they're alive, right? So it's not that they're eliminated, but is this get to a point? To me, I will say yes, it is a must win. And my reason for why it's a must win is because if you can't win this one and you can't win all three, I don't think you can win 11 games, right? And I think it takes 11 to get in. I mean, I think can they – maybe I should put it this way. I don't think you can get to 11 wins, and if you can't get to 11 wins, I don't think you can win a Super Bowl. So can they get to 10-7 and back ass into the playoffs? Yes. Can they do what their ultimate goal is? This franchise is gauged upon winning conference championships and winning Super Bowls. I think if you can't beat the Giants and you can't win one of three, I know Rashee Rice is coming, but I don't think that's the silver bullet that solves all of their problems. And so I will say that it is a must win. I think you're going to say it's not.
Yeah, so the way you phrased that question was similar to like Matt Nagy was talking yesterday, and I basically wanted to ask him about the running backs. And so I asked him about the running game, and I said, hey, I prefaced it by saying, hey, I know everybody's got a part of this.
Right.
But are you seeing some running lanes that are there just because I felt like I knew them well enough? You know me well enough to where you knew that I was going to say mathematically this is not a must-win game.
try to take the weapon away before you can pull it.
In the actual literal sense, it's not. And one of the things that I actually think is helping the Chiefs situation here is it's hard for me to find 17 playoff teams in the AFC this year if the Chiefs aren't one of them.
Okay.
And like when you go through the other divisions, I mean, the AFC East is not getting two teams in. I mean, you don't think New England? I think the Patriots have a shot, but I'm just saying that's like a 7 seed type of team.
Okay.
I don't think you can say it's a lock that the AFC South gets two teams in, although the Texans could still make it and the Colts. Even the AFC North, I'm like, there's no guarantee that there's going to be two teams coming out of the AFC North. I mean, the Bengals are without Burrow for the year. I mean, it's the math, I think, favors the Chiefs on the fact that I think it's very possible, if not likely, that every team that wins 9 games in the AFC is going to the playoffs. So if the Chiefs lose this, suddenly they need to go, what is it, like 9-5. And I think it's certainly possible the Chiefs could go 9-5. The other side of this equation is what Jeff mentioned, is the fact that you lose this game, you got the Ravens coming in. I don't think you can rebound from 0-4. I did some more of the math here to try and prove that the Chiefs are not the typical 0-2 team. We all know that, right? They're a defending Super Bowl champion. There have been defending Super Bowl champions that have started 0-2, but since the playoffs expanded to 7 teams, almost 12% of 0-2 teams have made it. Obviously, a very low number. I cut the juice out of the implied odds and everything. And the betting markets have the Chiefs playoff chances about 62 to 67%. It was only 80 before the season started. So the markets have not overreacted to the Chiefs starting 0-2. So I say that saying they would not be the typical 0-3 team either. But man, it's been bleak for 0-3 teams in NFL history. Only one team since 98 has even made the playoffs starting 0-3. Only one playoff win combined among 0-3 teams in NFL history. One playoff win combined among 0-3 teams. Again, I don't think the Chiefs would be the typical 0-3 team, but I think because of what Jeff said, it's not just the record. It's what do you believe in yourself if you lose this game? And I think for that reason, you could argue the Chiefs have never played in the Patrick Mahomes era a bigger regular season game prior to that, those last week of the season games when you're deciding seeding and trying to get the bye and all that. I'm not sure they played a bigger regular season game before, the regular season finale under Patrick Mahomes.
They were 3-4 a couple of years ago, maybe. I mean, I would say
good right now, right?
What's that?
The 3-4 would look good right now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm saying that's what we'd go back to. I don't know if it was bigger or not, but I think that's the area. Because I just remember the tone of this podcast of Eric Eager. I think I said it a couple of podcasts ago when he was talking about the only chance that the Chiefs have is for Patrick Mahomes to get white hot. I remember him saying that. And, that's where he felt like they were completely back against the wall. And so I look at it this way. If they lose this game to the Giants, how did it happen? And whatever scenario you have, you're probably going to say, well, they still didn't run the ball. And, they got trucked on the offensive line. Like, we're going to go to the same problems, and it's going to be that they didn't get better against a team that's bad. And so the problems start to look like they are not fixable. You can't clean them up. They are personnel issues that can't be solved until you get different personnel. And I think that's the thing is I think, it's an accumulation of sins. It's okay to lose to the Eagles. It's okay to lose to the Chargers. It's okay to have a bad day and lose to the Giants. It's not okay to do that 3 in a row. That signifies that you have systemic issues that you can't solve. And so I think that's why we get to where it's a must win.
Well, we're still not even sure the Chiefs have played poorly for the first 2 weeks because they haven't shown us a different version of themselves yet.
Yeah. I frankly don't think they have played poorly. I think they've been bettered. Right? Like those teams right now, the Chargers and Eagles are better. Like Chiefs are falling out. There are all these headlines on whether it's NFL.com with Jeff or ESPN or wherever it is, Chiefs fall. Like it's, the power rankings come out and the headline is Chiefs are falling. Right. Well, I mean, which is fine. That's news, but I think it's reality too. I don't think it's just like, I'm trying to predict, when it will be over. I think that was what a lot of people did before the season began. Well, I think this is it. And I think that people may be rushing to claim victory and success on those predictions right now a little fast, but there is nothing to point to say, I mean, I can give you the scenarios where they could have won those first 2 games, but I can also give you the scenarios where they lose those games by multiple scores, right? When you call it a 1-score game, they were down 10, right? And got a score to cut it to 1 score. These are not 1-score games where, oh my God, they kicked a field goal to go from down 2 to up 1 and man, if we just didn't fumble that ball with 1:51 to go, they're getting back to 1 score. That's the part that I think, speaks negatively of what they're going to be.
Yeah, I think if you looked at their first 2 games, and I don't know if there's any way to really do this because it's such a nebulous statistic, but if you talked about momentum or control of a game, I think that in 120 minutes of football, they probably had 30 seconds of that. I can't think of one moment in the last 2 games where I felt like, oh, Chiefs are going to win this game. They're in position to do something now. We're to surge ahead. Like it always felt in the last game as if the Eagles had a pretty good handle about what was happening. And certainly in the first game, the Chargers just overwhelmed them. They had no answers for Justin Herbert. And so that's my concern, is that you go back to 21 and Tyreek Hill was still here. They still had a team that had played the Super Bowl the year before. They were just not playing well. Like, this is legitimately a personnel issue. Like, running the football is a problem. Throwing the football is a problem. You talk about this Giants defense, how bad they are, and we'll get into that later in the show, but it's just the things the Giants don't do well, the Chiefs don't do well. So it's not even like an easy, okay, I can see them taking advantage of this or that. It was the same thing with the Dory Jackson last week with the Eagles. It's like, they're horrible. Number 2 cornerback is horrible. He was never even an issue in that game. And so that's the problem that they face, is just you're not built to really capitalize on the opportunities the opponents are giving you.
I can think of 0.8 seconds when the Chiefs were in control of the Eagles game. And it was when the ball was in the air on the way to Travis Kelce.
That's right.
To take a fourth quarter lead.
There you go. Yeah.
I will just underscore, they were down 20-10 to the Eagles, and scored with 3 minutes to go to cut it to 3 points. So they were down 10. And against the Chargers, they were down 9. And with 2:34 to go, got a field goal to cut it to 6. So they're one-score games.
After a fourth down completion, yeah.
Yeah, they are one-score games, but they're one-score games that they had to fight back to get to the one score. And I think that's something that they need to take serious in that building, and I'm sure they are. Have we seen the limits, Sam, of what Patrick Mahomes can do? Is this it? We've gone as far as Patrick Mahomes can physically carry people, and it is all upon the other 52, the coaching staff, to come up with better schemes. He can't do anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the primary thing of what's going on. But I think if you just look at that, you're absolving him of all responsibility. Like, you're basically saying he's been perfect, and like Patrick Mahomes has not. That first half against the Chargers, he was not good. I mean, he was not accurate. He was not good against the Eagles. The first play of the game, he overthrows Noah Gray. And I talked to you guys about the fact they're not throwing intermediate. That was an intermediate completion. It would have been only their second of the entire game. So, like, he's not played perfect football either. And I do think there was a third or fourth down play in the second quarter where as soon as the ball gets snapped to him, he's suddenly scouting the defense for a chance to run. I mean, I think some of this is the fact that the Chiefs built into him last year that you're going to be scrambling on this play. And I think that's hard to take out of a player, and that's something he's going to have to work through as well. So primarily what you said, absolutely. Like, Patrick Mahomes can only do so much. He played really good football in the second half against the Chargers. It wasn't enough. I think he was a guy looking to put his body on the line to try and do anything he could to win. Against the Eagles, it wasn't enough. So primarily, yes. But, like, he still owns a piece of it, even if it's not even close to the largest piece of this.
I hear what you're saying, that he can play better, but I don't think any more can go on his plate, Jeff. He's already on pace to rush for 1,000 yards. So when the pass plays aren't there, he's carrying that forward. I think they have reached the limit of what he can do. And I don't know that they aren't always at that limit. I don't know that he's ever been like, I'm going to play 50%. I think you're always getting his best, but I think we're finding out that there is now a formula for stopping him. You can't just throw anybody out there on any play and he's just going to fix it.
Yeah, I think a lot about Aaron Rodgers during his the last 10 years in Green Bay, when he was always complaining about, you're not drafting receivers, you're not adding more to the mix, more playmakers to the mix. And that feels like what's been happening here, that they've been so, for good reason.
I mean, receivers. Let's be clear about that.
I was going to say not specifically here, but I'm saying in terms of they've been so enamored with his superhuman powers, and he's created that, to a certain extent with the way he's played. That I think the mindset has been, let's basically maximize what Pat can do, and not how can we help him. And to me, that's a different way of looking at it. Some people can see it the same way, but I look at it like you're saying, all we got to do is put the ball in his hands and Andy will scheme it up. We get some fast guys out here and it's going to be great. And if it breaks down, like Sam said, he'll just run around and make a play and we'll all be happy. And realistically, you look at what the Bills did with Josh Allen, who has comparable talents. And they said, we're going to put an extra offensive lineman on the field. We're going to give him more running backs to hand off to. We're going to become a more balanced offense. Look at what the Ravens did with Lamar Jackson. Okay, we're going to spend a first-round pick on Zay Flowers. They could have drafted a corner. They needed a corner. We're taking a wide receiver to give him another weapon. We're bringing in Derrick Henry to help him. Like, these are things that teams that the Chiefs view as rivals, or they think they're rivals to the Chiefs, are doing to make the quarterback play better. And they haven't done that here. And they haven't been willing to acknowledge, is Isaiah Pacheco good enough? Should we really be asking more of Kareem Hunt? Is Hollywood Brown or can Xavier Worthy last? Like, if we want to run the football, we got all pass-catching tight ends. How are we going to block this up?
Right.
Those are issues.
I think it's – I would disagree. I'd push back a little bit and say that the idea that they haven't asked those questions is unfair. I think they've asked
them, I guess.
Yeah. They have not answered. Okay. Yes. They have not been able to answer them. And I think it is harder to answer those questions picking 32nd all the time. And I think we're seeing the winner's tax be applied to them because you don't get Jamar Chase. You get Xavier Worthy, right? You get 160 pounds instead of 215 pounds. And, where you're at. And I think if I were to look, and they've chased, we've mentioned 4 years, 4 tackles. Finally, hopefully they've got that solved. Yeah. Those are draft picks that could have been used on different wide receivers, missing on Sky Moore. Like I hear what you're saying. I mean, I think they've
Let me stop you real quick. You go on. Jonathan Taylor was a 2nd-round pick. A.J. Brown was a 2nd-round pick.
No
Higgins was a 2nd-round pick. We can go down the list.
Yes.
DJ Metcalf. There's people they could have drafted and had.
Yes, and they have those successes. Creed Humphrey, Jalen Watson, Trey Smith. They have those. Yeah, I agree. But you would agree it's harder when you pick at the end of the draft.
It's harder. Yeah.
Right. I mean, there are the drop offs, and a lot of times it's before they get to it. But I do think they need to take a long look at. Well, we keep throwing these picks at it. Like, would we be like if Ashton Gelati doesn't come around and solve the other defensive end spot, then they need to start looking like, okay, do we need to do what the Rams did? I mean, I am fascinated by watching how the Rams, because I think Matt Stafford's good, but not as good as Patrick Mahomes. But they made big moves for certain spots, and then they throw numbers at the other spots. And the Chiefs have always just trusted their board. And I don't think that necessarily has solved a lot of their problems and puts them where they are right now. Sam, I'm sorry. Would you?
No. Good.
Yeah. Okay. So, what about the game plan part of it, Sam? Does that have to change with Andy Reid? Do you think it will change? What we heard from, I peppered him with getting under center talk, and Andy Reid said, well, I said is Patrick Mahomes comfortable with it? He said he's getting more comfortable. I brought it up to Matt Nagy, and Matt Nagy said, well, I think what you're insinuating is downhill runs and, giving Pat a time off. What do you make of what we've heard this week as to whether or not we're going to see a different approach to one, how they call the game, and the style of maybe running the football?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we're going to see a drastic difference. I mean, to me, this is not about the Chiefs need to run the ball more frequently. I've heard that a lot. The Chiefs have to establish run. They have to run the ball more frequently. They've got to run the ball more effectively.
Yeah,
and it's there for them to run the ball more effectively. On first down this year, only 4% of their snaps have come against stacked boxes. 4%. Second fewest in the league. The Patriots, for example, have faced 48% of their first downs come against stacked boxes. The Chiefs are at 4.0. On second down, the frequency of their times they face stacked boxes is 0.0%. They've yet to face a stacked box on second down this year. On third, which is obviously the lowest in the league. They're the only team that can say that. On third downs, they're at 12.5%, which is the fourth fewest in the league. Like, every single down, it's there to run the ball more effectively. And if you want to improve your passing game, you've got to make teams stack the box and throw more guys to try and defend the run. And the Chiefs running game isn't good enough to make teams get out of defending the pass every single down. It makes it hard to pass when everyone is, they can leave an extra guy in the secondary. They can leave an extra defensive back on the field and not have to worry about getting beat in the running game. And it's the reason I asked Matt Nagy the question I referenced earlier, is because when you watch the film, there are some running lanes there. And by the way, he acknowledged that. I mean, this is a coaching staff that does not like to say that specific positions or specific players aren't holding up their weight. But he said, yeah, you do see that on film, and the running backs know that too. Like, the running backs have to be better. I think that's their best avenue to be better in the passing game, is the running backs are real threats. But it comes back to what we all talked about all off season. Are the running backs good enough to do that?
Yeah. How about Joel says we used to go into some stat about did the running back make the right read? Is that metric still available? I don't remember what the metric is. Maybe it was something Eric talked about, but we have discussed, and Sam, you were on it, that, going back and watching it, that there were plays to be made, and Isaiah Pacheco wasn't doing it. We talked about it a lot with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that he seemed to never have the vision to get to the hole. And I think there's a lot of that. I think Isaiah Pacheco, there's a phrase, be quick but don't hurry. He hurries.
Yes.
He is trying to get to where he hopes the hole will be as fast as he can. And there are times that's not the best thing. Let the blocking, create the gap and then get there. And, he's hell bent on getting there as quick as possible. And I do think he misses opportunities.
Yeah. Well, and we talk so much about the passing game throughout the NFL, not just for the Chiefs. And there's a diversity to the run game too. And it feels as if teams know. The Eagles clearly felt this way that game. Like, they know what the Chiefs can run and what they can't run. And so when they're running stuff, even when Pacheco does get opportunities, he's not going to make the right read often enough. But I think they also know they're not running outside zone here. We know where they're going to try to get to, and we know we can bully their tight ends. We know that when you're running out of shotgun, it's a lot less effective running the football because their receivers aren't making plays down the field. And so it becomes a domino effect here. And that comes back to, if you had a guy like a Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry, I'm not saying they have to get that caliber of running back. It makes life easier. You go back to that game, the way the Eagles played. We can argue whether the Eagles had a great game plan or not, or how the Chiefs played well defensively, but they ran A.J. Brown. Dan Orlovsky had this quote on ESPN. He said the Eagles ran A.J. Brown on the same route 10 times in a row. He ran a 5-yard in-cut. But that game, they were able to get Saquon Barkley going enough that they felt like we can win with this. And when he broke that run for the first touchdown, I was like, that might be the game.
Yeah.
Because the Chiefs don't have enough offense to match that. And when you have a running back like that, how many times they throw the football out to him in the flat, he either made somebody miss or ran over a guy and got 5 or 6 more yards. I have not seen that happen with a Chiefs running back in years, probably. And that's a factor. They minimize it, but it's a factor.
Well, sorry, Soren, I just wanted to add to what Jeff said, because, for example, the Bills, when you look at that stat on second down alone, they have faced the second most stacked boxes. They're still running the ball effectively. And by the way, that helps the passing game a lot more. When Josh Allen can look out in the secondary, and Josh Allen, of all quarterbacks, has the second most advantageous secondary that he looks at on second down this year. I mean, the passing game is considerably better. I mean, Keon Coleman is a jump ball receiver, right? He doesn't have near the talent that DeAndre Hopkins has, but DeAndre Hopkins was not good because he's separated. That's what Keon Coleman is. Like, his strength is not separation. It's all the other stuff. Well, you're going to get one-on-one with him on the outside all the time because they have to respect the effectiveness at the running game. I keep coming back to it. It's not the frequency of which you're running. It's the effective. Teams don't care if the Chiefs run every down. They're still not going to change personnel unless you're effective at it.
Yeah, and I think that's what Kevin was talking about. Like, hey, no one's asking you to run every down. No one is saying become the wishbone, right? It's just be better at doing it. And I will say, guys, 177.5 yards per game. It's only 2 games, but that's what the Giants have given up on the ground. Like
5.9 a carry.
And that's again why let's go back to the formula of, if they don't win this game, tell me how they didn't win it. And that's why I say it's a must win. This team defensively has real problems. And so if you can't run against this team, who can you run against? And I think you're right. If you don't run better, you're going to continue to have problems in the passing game. And so that's why this one, yes, I think we get to, at least from my vantage point, and say, yeah, this one is a must win. They've got to find a way to win this one. You got to find a way to get to Italian Delight, of course, Kansas City's own, bringing pizza, New York style pizza, first to do it 50 years ago. Italian Delight was the first restaurant to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. They sell whole pies or pizza by the slice, or enjoy their classic strombolis, calzones, and sausage rolls. Sandwich lovers, check out their lineup of hot and cold subs, the combo, the meatball, or the Philly cheesesteak, just to name a few. And don't forget the pasta. Their famous lasagna and classic chicken Alfredo always hit the spot. And if you're hungry for lunch, check out their daily lunch specials, starting at under $10. Italian Delight can even cater your next work function or party. Dine in, carry out, or delivery, it's Italian Delight. Located just 3 minutes east of Kansas Speedway at 8145 State Ave in KCK. Check out the menu and order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. Kansas City's own Italian Delight. Gann Asphalt and Concrete, proudly serving the greater Kansas City area. Nationally recognized full-service paving and pavement maintenance contractor. Locally owned and making parking lot problems disappear in Kansas City since 1994. Let Gann educate you about the most cost-effective way to solve your parking lot problems. With free consultations, no commissions, in-house crews, and every project comes with a written warranty, Gann Asphalt keeps your parking lot safer and helps you and your business avoid unnecessary delays and costly expenses. Find Gann online at GannAsphalt.com or call 816-484-3338. Gann Asphalt and Concrete. One contractor, all things parking lot. All right, let's talk about Xavier Worthy and Jalen Royals. What does that do in this game in your mind, Jeff? Are they necessary pieces for the Chiefs to be effective?
They can help. I don't think that they're going to be cure-alls. I don't even think when Rashee Rice comes back, that's a cure-all. They've got to get other things figured out, but they can certainly help. I don't know if is Worthy going to play. I don't know if that's a certainty. And generally, Jalen Royals is a rookie, so you don't know what to expect from him. That's asking a lot of a guy to step into an offense at this juncture and be a difference maker. But I look at what Juju Smith-Schuster has offered, which is not much. Hollywood Brown has his limitations. Tyquan Thornton made a play down the field, but it's just you're not seeing enough guys getting open. Those guys aren't big enough threats. So to have somebody like Xavier Worthy who might affect coverage, that's a big deal. But like the things we just talked about, being able to go under center, being able to run the ball more effectively, being able to play action, I think two tight ends, multiple tight ends, that will help. Worthy's part of the solution, but he's not the whole solution.
Yeah. For you, Sam, what do you think? What is their impact?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'd be hypocritical for me to say they're going to solve it when I just mentioned that I think you have to run the ball more effectively to get in more advantageous passing situations against defenses. But look, we're not sure that these guys are going to play. Jalen Royals, I think, is going to be more of a slow burn just because he is a rookie. And we've seen with their good rookie performing wide receivers that Rashee Rice, it took a while. With Xavier Worthy, it took a while. So to expect that Jalen Royals, Andy Reid always has a tell about the expectations for a player. When he points out he's missed a lot of time, as he did with Jalen Royals, he's basically saying, this guy's not going to step right in and become a guy that puts up 60 yards in his first game. And Xavier Worthy, I think, has obviously the ability to change coverages a lot more. But I just don't know what to expect out of Xavier Worthy even when he does come back. And we'll find out later this afternoon about their status. But and he's been practicing, limited, but he's been practicing. But I mean, I meant, are they going to run that route again? Are they going to put him over the middle of the field? That was one of the things that they were pleasantly surprised with Xavier Worthy's, his ability to run more intermediate routes than they anticipated he would be. But are they going to be nervous to do that? I mean, this is an injury that you can very much re-injure and have to have season-ending surgery with.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I was surprised with how much they did use him in traffic. Like, I mean, he looks small. Right, but so does Hollywood Brown, for that matter, and a lot of his best work in his career has been done in that area as well. And I think that's part of the reason why, he gets beat up. I mean, it's tough when you're smaller to play this game. It is a brutal physical game, right? It's not a lack of toughness. They're tough. Their bodies don't stand up to it, and I think so. They want to do that stuff, and he's the best guy to do it, but he's not built for it. So. Yeah, I do they need them to win this game? No, they can win this game without them. And I'm with you guys. I don't think we're going to see anything out of Jalen Royals till the second half of the season, to be honest with you. They might have some gadgets here and there. But, what got him out of this funk 2 years ago was they started throwing the balls to the guys that can make plays. That was Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce. They started eliminating Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore and trying to make that part of the equation. The problem here is that means turning to Xavier Worthy, who you now are worried about. I'm with you. I think he's one hit away from being done for the year. And so can you actually turn it all over and say, well, we're going to just get the ball to him more? Or are you afraid? Great, he's back. Do they end up using him more as a decoy because they are worried that he's going to, get hurt? They're going to give him the ball, and I think he's probably going to get hurt. Like, that's what I think. Not necessarily this game, but I think at some point, this is why teams were hesitant to draft him. Okay, because it was a what would you say, a non-aggressive injury. There was no intent, and he ended up hurt. So I don't know. How about the pass rushers of the Giants? Should this be feared, Jeff?
Well, it should be feared if they wind up in long yardage situations. If they can't run the football, they're getting thrown for losses. Mahomes taking sacks. That's really the only path for the Giants to win is there's two paths. One is Russell Wilson, which is part of this too. But if their pass rush gets going, if they find situations to get after the quarterback, I think it's going to be hard. I don't really trust Juwan Taylor going up against a Kayvon Thibodeau or a Brian Burns or an Abdul Carter. Josh Simmons is a rookie. And so these guys are really athletic. I think that's going to be problematic at times. And so, they're going to have to manage the game really well and not create those situations for those guys to get after it, because this is not a good defense. They've had all kinds of issues, especially stopping the run. And so, but if the Chiefs allow themselves to get in these situations where, they're relying on Mahomes to make a lot of plays. And I would say even with a front like this, if he's scrambling around and trying to make plays and not looking where he's coming from, they can track him down. These guys are fast enough to track him down and knock the ball out of his hands. And so turnovers can be a bigger factor in this contest. So, I'm a little bit concerned about what those guys could do in this situation.
Dexter Lawrence, big guy in the middle. A lot of investments. Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns,
Abdul
Carter, who they took very high. I mean, they on that defensive line, you do not want to be in a 3rd and 12 facing this. And we've chronicled how many problems they've had trying to stop the run. You get to the D backfield, it looks a lot easier though. And I will tell you, when I look and I see Raheem Nunez-Roches is listed on the starters, a guy the Chiefs moved on from a long time. He's been a solid player, and congratulations on having a nice NFL career. But like there are, they're scary if you let them be scary. Sam, does that sound right?
Yeah, I mean, when you look at the stats, I think based on that defensive line you mentioned, because I mean, talent-wise, that's one of the best units in the league, but they're 23rd in pressure rate. But then you dig deeper and you see that they've given up 5.9 yards a carry. So they're probably in a situation like the Chiefs were in week 1 against the Chargers, where they've got to defend the run. Like, how many times have they had an opportunity to just tee off against the quarterback? If you give up 6 yards on first down, you're in 2nd and 4, and then, 3rd and short or something of that sort. Your guys aren't in an opportunity where they know it's a pass and then see what happens. So to me, this is going to make the Chiefs' 1st and 2nd down effectiveness really important. And they haven't been great on 1st and 2nd down this year.
Yeah, no, that is, I think they have to be, they need to get up on this team and not let them, I think the Cowboys did a nice job coming back, but they let the Giants dictate that game, and that made the Giants feel good about themselves, and they played with a lot more confidence. The Chiefs can't let that happen. I think they need to put them in their place early and let them know that there's a difference between these two teams. And I think you'll see more of a performance like you saw in the first week from the Giants if they can do that. Russell Wilson was night and day between week 1 and week 2, Jeff. Week 1, 17 of 37 for 168 yards, no touchdowns. Week 2, 30 of 41 for 450, 3 touchdowns, a bad interception in overtime that really did cost him. Sacked twice in each of these games. He's there to be sacked. That's actually a pretty good number for Russell Wilson because he will take sacks in these games. Scored 6 points in the first game, 37 points in the second game. Which Russell Wilson are we going to see in this one?
Yeah, I can't recall like a time when a quarterback looked so bad in one week and looked so good the next. Like there was that much of a turnaround. But I'm anticipating he's closer to the first week with this game. Years ago, he was the kind of quarterback that could give a Steve Spagnuolo defense issues because of his running ability. He could improvise and escape. He just is not that quarterback anymore. He does hold the ball a long time, and I do think back to when they played Pittsburgh last year and how quickly it got out of control for him. They were always around him. He couldn't see the receivers down the field, and the plays he made against Dallas were stand in the pocket, go it 50 yards down the field. Like, if he's trying to do that, even with as limited as the Chiefs pass rush has been, like, it's going to be a long day. And so I have a feeling he's going to be frustrated. Spagnuolo is going to have a lot of things dialed up for him. And if the Giants can't get Scatabo or Tracy or some of the other guys going on the ground, I don't think he's going to do a ton of damage. Certainly not close to what he did against Dallas.
How about you, Sam? What are we going to see? Good or bad, Russ?
It's all dependent on whether or not the Chiefs can put pressure on him. Because, I mean, when you look at the difference between week 1 and week 2 that you mentioned, he was pressured on half of his snaps by the Commanders. So he does not perform well under pressure. He's been pressured more than any quarterback has this year because he'll take shots. And whether they're open or not, he'll trust his guys, and he's got a guy to trust with Malik Nabers. I mean, it's a name that we probably should have been mentioning before 50 minutes into this podcast, right? Like, I mean, Malik Nabers is a guy that is a tough guy to defend for anybody, but for a Chiefs team that likes to bring extra guys from its secondary to try and put any sort of pressure on the quarterback, defending one-on-one is a pretty scary thought, I think, for the Chiefs. Like, their front four has got to bring it more than they have this year. If otherwise, he's thrown 12 deep passes this year, which is the second most league. He's completed 7, which is the most in the league this year. Like, he'll just take shots. And that seems like a secondary stat. To me, that's more of a pressure stat. Are your guys allowing those plays to develop?
Yeah, and we have not seen a lot of pressure from the Chiefs. I mean, if Russ gets all day, Jeff, then, and I agree, just now getting to talking about what is certainly their Malik Nabers, their most impressive offensive weapon, we're probably late on it. But if Russ gets all day, Malik Nabers will beat you.
Oh, yeah. No, he's got Jamar Chase, Justin Jeffords type ability. And you saw that in that Cowboys game where they were literally in positions where the Cowboys knew what they were going to do and knew they had to stop it. And he still ran down the field and caught touchdown passes. And so the pass rush for the Chiefs is going to be vital in this game. I don't know if they have somebody in their secondary, even a Trent McDuffie, who could match up with this guy and shut him down all game long. But again, I think it comes back to situations. If the Chiefs are able, probably the most important thing in this game they have to do is start fast. If they're able to start fast and set a tone, I think that makes all the stuff we're talking about easier. If they're sitting around grinding it out in the third quarter and trying to find something that works and trying to get some momentum, I think all these things come into play, including Malik Nabers.
Yeah. What are the keys to winning, Sam?
I think the Chiefs stars have to show up. Like, you're paying a lot of guys a lot of money, and I think those guys have to play better. I wrote about this in the Kansas City Star this morning, but the Chiefs have 9 players whose annual average value of their contract is at least $15 million. 9. Nobody in the NFL has more than 9. And then you start to go through the 9 this year. Let's just go through a quick list of those 9 guys. You've got Mahomes. Second most AAV on the Chiefs is Chris Jones. He's 33rd in the NFL in pressures. He's never been worse than top 5 since 2018. You've got Trey Smith, who's graded lower this year for the first 2 weeks than any season of his career. It's only 2 weeks. You got George Karlaftis, who has one of the lowest win rates and lowest quick pressure rates in the league. Juwan Taylor, who leads the league in penalties. Creed Humphrey, who's been graded lower than what he has been. Travis Kelce, who that week 2 drop, I think will wind up being the biggest play of the Chiefs season in terms of win probability impact of that play. You've got Nick Bolton, who better in week 2, but in week 1 was targeted 5 times and for 5 completions. Then you've got Jalen Moore, who's played 6 snaps. Those are your 9 guys making at least $15 million. By the way, 10th and 11th on their list, just in terms of ranking, Christian Fulton's played 17 snaps, and Mike Dana is the 11th highest paid on the played player. Like, your roster is built to where if your stars do not succeed, you don't have enough money for everyone else to carry the slack. Like, your stars have to play at a really high level, and the Chiefs haven't gotten enough out of those guys over the first 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah, I would agree that the Stars got to come to play. That's a statement that you can put out there for the whole season.
Yes, that's the way they're built. Every week,
Yeah.
that's part of it, and they haven't been in the first couple of weeks.
No, they haven't. Jeff, what are your keys for a Chiefs victory?
Well, first off, Sam's right. And I've always told people that as much as we talk about the Chiefs as a whole and what they've accomplished, like really their success, their whole dynasty has been built around Kelsey, Chris Jones, Mahomes, and Tyreek Hill back when he was here, maybe Tyrann Mathieu for a little bit. They've relied so much on players of that caliber to carry them. These kinds of players they're playing with right now have been around for the last 7 years. They just haven't been exposed in the way they are now because the guys who are the biggest stars aren't getting it done in the same way. And so, yeah, Chris Jones has got to show up. Travis Kelsey can't maim a teammate, can't walk on the field with a dumbass T-shirt on, can't drop a key pass in the end zone that leads to a touchdown. Like, let's do something positive the whole game. Let's get the next week talking about Kelsey in a positive way. He's got to be a big time player. And then I would say, obviously, we've been saying all game, all podcast long, run the football effectively and have your defense win this game for you. Like, they don't have an offensive identity and it may not show up for weeks, but if they're able to get after Russell Wilson and make that Giants defense pay for being as bad as they are, they should win this game easily.
I think they've got to start fast. I mean, the script sucks. It's taking them 20 minutes to get on the board. It's the quickest they got on the board in the first 2 games. They got to be a lot more effective to open the game and play this game from in front. And I think it gets a lot easier to do the things that we're talking about. All right, predictions.
Well, just real quick, you're reminding me that of Todd Lebo asking Andy about the script.
It went well, didn't it?
I've asked plenty of questions Andy has not liked, but he really hated that one. You want the plays?
People who didn't hear it, he said, "Hey, the script hasn't, really been effective. Do you have to change some things there?" And he's like, "Well, you know,
I'd have to give you the plays."
And no, I mean, I think there is a theoretical discussion to be had. Are you spending too much time trying to probe the defense rather than attack the defense? Right? Like maybe that's, I think it's a valid question. Okay, why are you starting so slow? Like, do you want me to, you can't score in the first quarter? You could put it a much more blunt and potentially confrontational way.
Yeah, let's criticize the question. Let's criticize Todd. That's the point.
Yeah, I think Todd, was pretty good about how he put it out there, to be honest with you. I think, like I said, it could be Andy, why do you suck to start the game? Be a legit question. I mean, and that's not how he asked it. So, look, I think we know that Todd is not going to be invited over to Andy's for any holiday.
Shock jock.
Yeah.
Where does he get invited though?
Todd he has an open invitation to my house.
Yeah, he can go to Barry Switcher's house anytime.
That's right. All the OU folks will have him over. All right, prediction time. Jeff, what do you got?
I'll go Chiefs in an ugly win. I'll take them 17-13.
Oh man, God, this will be an interesting couple of podcasts next week. That's where it goes.
Yeah.
All right, Jeff, 17-13. Sam, where are you?
I'm not far off. I've got the Chiefs at 20-16, so same scoring margin.
Unleash the fury is a phrase that I have used in the past and is absolutely not a phrase I'm going to use now.
It's going the way the Tush Push.
It is. It is headed that way. What really concerns me is that this number is at 5.5, which says to me that the betting markets think one big play and the Giants can steal this game. And I think there is the potential for the Chiefs to take out some frustration in this to be 31-10. And I'm going to tell you, in years past, I would have picked them 31-10. I think they do better offensively, but I think the Giants hang around. And maybe it's an, by the way, backdoor touchdown. But I picked the Giants to cover because everybody and their brother is betting the Chiefs. The whole world is betting the Chiefs, and they are not pushing this number to 7. It's over 80% of the tickets and 80% of the cash is going on the Chiefs, and Vegas is not moving that number. So they are adamant that this is the right number. So I'll take the Chiefs 24-20. That feels about right to me. And I hope, as a Chiefs fan, that it's 24-13 and it's an, by the way, for the Giants to get there, but I fear that this will be a rock fight-ish looking game. They've never won in that against that team on the road. That has nothing to do with what will happen in this game this week, but it just seems like fluky things happen that way. Listen, no fluke about our great sponsors. You can support the Red, Gold, and Bold by supporting our great sponsors. If you own or manage a business, you have any kind of parking lot issues, Gann Asphalt and Concrete's been solving parking lot problems since 1994. Every project comes with a written warranty. All their crew in-house. Find Gann Asphalt and Concrete online at GannAsphalt.com. By our friends at Frontier Justice with spots in Lee Summit, Kansas City, Kansas, and Jenks, Oklahoma. Frontier Justice offers firearm retail, premier indoor shooting range, and training all under one roof. You can learn more by going to frontier-justice.com. And if you're looking for lunch, Italian Delight has numerous lunch specials starting at under $10. You see our buddy Renee in the comment section. Renee, say hello to him when you go there. Tell him you saw his ad here on the Red, Gold, and Bold, the first to bring true New York-style pizza to Kansas City almost 50 years ago. Locally owned and operated, family-owned and operated. Italian Delight. They're just a few minutes east of the Speedway, 8145 State Avenue. You can order online at ItalianDelightKS.com. For Jeff Chadiha from the NFL Network, Sam McDowell from the Kansas City Star, I'm Soren Petro saying thank you very much for joining us here on the Red, Gold, and Bold podcast.